My road to becoming a fashion designer has been a little bit of a
Topsy-turvy.
Topsy-turvy,
Yeah.
yes. You know, I had no background in fashion. I hadn't discovered my own voice.
How did you find that voice?
Of course, khadi became something very important to me as my first fabric of choice.
Right.
The only way one could experience khadi was at Khadi Gram Udyog, and you're like, that's not aspirational at all.
Right. And we see that in your
And
work.
flow.
Like I feel that
Yes.
your website, which is so nicely designed, by the way, I really like that. Currently it has that one girl with her entire top flowing.
Yeah.
It's so cool. But I feel like I see that anti-fit, the freedom of movement in your clothes.
Yeah. I was really inspired by Gaurav Gupta. I was inspired by Sabyasachi's first collections, and I was like, wow, you're going to be asking me, I think, about any mistakes you learned from.
Yes. 3 mistakes that you've learned.
Yes, I don't know about the 3, but I will tell you the one very big mistake.
Yeah. Urvashi, thank you so much for taking out this time for the Style Circle. My circle is growing with all my top of the list tier 1 people, and I'm so glad that you're one of them because I consider you as one of the OGs, especially with sustainable fashion. So I'm just so happy that you took out the time and made some space for us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me over. And of course, we have a relationship outside of this.
We do.
and a long friendship, and I'm just so happy to be here to share, you know, whatever learnings I've had through my journey.
That's great. We have a lot to learn from you, and you know, as we go through these steps, I think I want to start right at the first step, which is your background in education. Just a quick insight. I want to know what did you study exactly, and how you made the decision to become a designer.
My road to becoming a fashion designer has been a little bit of a
Topsy-turvy.
Topsy-turvy,
Yeah.
yes. I actually studied history in Delhi University, and then I was very involved in theatre.
Okay.
So during my 3-4 years working with a theatre company, Amir Raza Hussain and Stage Door, I was given the task to design costumes for one of the largest Broadway musical to be performed and staged in India.
Really?
By
What was
Amir.
it called?
It was the Starlight Express
Oh.
by Andrew Lloyd Webber, and it involved 100 DPS Archipuram kids who had been taught how to roller skate.
Yeah.
And I had to design the costumes from scratch. This is at a time when there was no digital, there was no
There's
internet.
nothing. Yeah.
There was nothing.
Oh my
So, you know, even researching for the project, because it was a bit of science fiction, there was this, and you know, I had no background in fashion or understanding of execution or even design, really. But I was always very interested in it. So
Yeah, that creative bend.
my mother's an artist, and
Right.
you know, I've always been very influenced by her work and just watching her paint every day. Like it's surrounded with artists, and growing up, my nani being a poetess, my nana being a writer.
Wow.
My dad in the army.
On
We
the army.
traveled all over India and abroad, and then of course the first country I ever stepped into or city outside of India was Paris at the age of 14. It was like magical.
It's magical.
And I was just completely taken it was just mesmerizing to see the fashion and the world
Right.
of Parisian fashion, and then of course it stayed with me. But I think the catalyst was really when I was able to execute that large scale production, from design to sourcing material to, within a crazy timeline, being able to create those costumes.
Right. Concept to stage.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
On a shoestring budget, because who
Yeah.
pays for theater back in the days? It had no value,
Yeah.
and literally had to go begging for people to just support us from textile to getting it tailored and fit to size. After that, I was like, you know what? I think this
You're
is
cut
my
out for
calling.
this. Yeah. Yeah.
It was a moment, one of those pivotal moments in your life where you take up this challenge without even knowing anything about
Right.
it, and you just do it because there's an interest there.
Right.
There's a love, and I think that really made me then change course, and I decided not to pursue history and international relations post-grad, and I wanted to just see what the world of fashion would be like.
That's actually really inspiring also because, so many times you're thrown, like you said, thrown into a project, which is like learning on the job, which you never had, right? It was something that you just elected, volunteered for, and you came out not only winning, but realizing this is what you're cut out for. Which, I mean, that's fantastic.
I was a bad actress, so I knew that couldn't be.
That's not.
And
that's not
history, of course, I love history.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that, having this sort of more diverse background educationally and experientially, I think not only has informed my work differently, but there's been this very organic approach to fashion. And once I explored, I then joined a designer. I wanted to work in the industry to gain more insight into the craft itself. How does it happen? All of it,
Right.
to learn. So I literally learned pattern making, dyeing, cutting, tailoring, everything about it with the artisans
Oh, so
at
still
the
no
workplace.
school is
Still
involved?
no schooling. No.
Okay.
But I had decided, being a francophone, having lived in Algeria, in a French school, hence speaking the language.
Yes.
I said, I want to study fashion now, but I want to study at the Mecca of fashion.
Paris.
And for me, that was Paris. And
Right.
back then, they were only teaching in French. There were no institutes that would teach in English.
Right.
And I think having that language, the knowledge of the language, was a real advantage.
Yeah.
And it took me to France.
I mean, it's a big plus. Like,
It
to
is.
know a completely full-blown language that has nothing to do with your own country. I think that's really great, and it's on my list to ask you your competitive advantage, knowing French. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I think it's really about, no matter where life takes you, because that again was, I think, a huge challenge. I remember when my dad got posted to Algeria as military attaché at the embassy. The American school was there only for a year, and at 15, while I was doing my CBSE board through correspondence and
God.
giving my 10th boards, my parents were like, you're not sitting at home, because the American school was only up till the 9th standard, and then we were just thrown into the French school. So my 10th, 11th, I did in a French lycée, doing international baccalaureate, studying Shakespeare in French, doing
But
math in
this is
French.
when you actually picked up the language that late, or did you know the language from before?
No, I was
Picked it up.
15. I mean, who learns from their parents, right? Nobody wants to really learn it till you're thrown in a situation where, in a country where people only spoke French.
Yeah.
So if you want to survive and if you want to thrive, then you just
Adapt
and
learn.
integrate. And I think the
That's
army life really sets you up
Yeah.
to adapt to any environment you're
Absolutely.
in.
So
And
much
I
moving
think
around.
both my brother and I, we flourished in the French school. And the way we learned the language was how the French speak. So
Right.
because you're literally living in an environment. It's the best
Yes.
way to learn the language.
Absolutely.
Unlike, externally learning it
And then trying to apply it.
and then trying to apply it.
Got it. Yeah,
It's
I completely
literally, I mean, you're like, even if words don't come out, somebody's going to prompt you with a word. It's
Yeah,
funny
yeah.
how you can learn a language without knowing another language to communicate
Yeah.
that in.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So,
That's really great.
knowing the language, my brother had already moved to France. I told him, I said, "Jay, I want you to do a deep dive and find me the best fashion institute in the country, and I'm going to work towards it." And that's exactly what I did. I decided to study at ESMOD. Now, clearly, what I didn't have was resources. I was coming from an army background. We had no money. But there was the desire. So
Yeah.
where there's a will, there's a way.
Are we heading towards a scholarship? What
Yes,
is it? Wow.
absolutely.
Okay.
And I then, while I was working with this designer, I had initially told her and working on my portfolio to apply to ESMOD. I had sort of decided that I would, in a year, move to France and study. I just didn't know how I'm going to get there. Well, I worked my ass off.
Who was the designer you worked with?
Neeta Paul.
Okay.
She was Canadian Indian designer who
Yeah.
had ran. It wasn't this sort of very glamorous
Yeah.
designer brand as such, but she was, I guess she was willing to hire me with no fashion background
She
or
needed a set of
education.
hands. She
So
needed a set of hands.
she needed a set of hands.
Yeah.
And of course, what she was doing was nothing like what I'm doing, or but it did give me a deep understanding about the business.
The business part of it.
The business part of it, and also how to execute your design from conception. I think it was a real learning curve for me, and the fact that she wasn't here, and there was a lot of responsibility that was thrown at me at a very,
Wow.
literally to the point where I had to open the doors.
I know, and I see that. Like, I feel that, I have seen you at work. So I know that hours really, truly don't matter to you.
No,
And I know
it's-
that you also are somebody who has worked hard and partied harder with equal zest. because
Absolutely.
You also believe in that, and I see that. So, you've had this really very colorful sort of upbringing in terms of getting to Paris at 14, learning French, like you said, and then working your way through a scholarship to such a great school. I want to know, like, going back, 3 things that you got right that you are like, I'm so glad this is how it happened.
I think I've never really answered this question to myself, but actually, so I did apply for NIFT. Back then, there was only one NIFT, one batch. And there were over 2 lakh people that had appeared for
Obviously.
the exam, which was held at a centers. There were centers for
Yes.
it, like
Yes.
the CBSE board exams.
Yes.
And I was really ecstatic to make it to the interview round.
Interview round, right?
And we were 80 from 2 lakh. So I felt really great. And then I didn't make it through the interview round. Initially every rejection seems really difficult. But I think that was the best thing that happened to me, because
Yeah.
what it does tell you is that if you are not getting in, means that obviously either you are not ready for what's to come, or you're not prepared enough, you are not at that level.
Right.
But does that mean it should not derail you from your goal? Not having done a full fashion education or a course, a design course where a graduation in design, I think gives me a perspective and does not box me in any way.
Right. Almost gives you an edge.
It is an edge because I don't ever look at something and say this is not possible. Not getting through NIFT
Yeah.
was the one thing.
Yeah.
The project I spoke about was pivotal. I don't know if some of these are things that I chose or they happened to me.
Fair enough.
And I was also thrown in an environment where I was interacting with people that were far older than me as well. And today I see them in the industry and I know they're all stalwarts, and sharing creative space with them. And I think the sense of responsibility that I got, that you are working for a company that voluntarily, with no money.
I think the word or the phrase you're looking for is to be passion driven, right? It was
Yes.
driven by passion.
It was totally driven by
with
passion.
absolute block to what you may get in return.
Yeah,
So I get it. No, I hear you.
And just to be immersed in somebody else's vision.
So now, when you went to Paris and you worked, and then you found yourself a scholarship, you went to school, and what happened then? Like, did you come back and then immediately get into starting your own label, or did you still take some time?
So when I came back again, I fell in love, got married, had children. I did continue to work in some way, but I was doing home furnishings. I was working with Good Earth and creating cushion covers and embroideries and things like that. I hadn't discovered my own voice.
Okay. How did you find that voice?
There's a calling. There's like, I feel a void. I don't feel that I'm really doing what my purpose is.
Right. Reaching your potential.
Reaching my potential, but also what is it that I want to share with the world? What is all of the inputs and the experiences in my childhood? Am I really sharing that back with the world? So Fashion Weeks began in the early 2000s, and I started to go to these fashion weeks, and I was really inspired by Gaurav Gupta. I was inspired by Sabyasachi's first collections, and I was like, wow, I saw this new wave of designers that were not necessarily catering to only trousseau fashion, or what I would call wedding wear and clothing. The landscape of fashion at that time was really a lot of embroideries, embellishments,
Very Indian in nature.
Very Indian, and people were wearing it on occasion. So it was occasion wear.
It was occasion wear.
It wasn't you feeling and imbibing your own identity as who we are as Indians. And there was nothing of what I saw in our everyday clothing. So I felt that there was this disconnect between the newer generations and the older generations that were wearing saris, and the newer generations that were now adopting Western clothing that did not have any soul of India, or there was no connect with our culture, community, our heritage, our identities in any way. So I wanted to find that expression. I wanted to create something using textiles that are woven in India. And initially, of course, khadi became something very important to me as my first
fabric
of choice. Wanting to express and to change the perception and shift it from a fabric of the everyday man,
to the fabric of contemporary fashion,
to the fabric of luxury, and also how it's connected to our histories. You see, everybody that spoke of khadi, the only way one could experience khadi was at Khadi Gram Udyog, and you're like, that's not aspirational at all. And I said, also there was a reason. I think as Indians, nobody wanted to, the newer generations didn't want to really wear khadi because they're like, okay, it connects us to our struggle, freedom, India's freedom struggle, and it's, about Gandhiji and maybe an austere living, or there were many aspects of khadi that were symbolic of our freedom struggle. What they didn't realize is it was our strength. It was how we connected, the whole of the country got connected through that fabric.
Quite literally.
Quite literally. and it gave us a voice and a power. But again, the hugest challenge came with finding consumers that would be willing to pay an X price for something made out of khadi, which was not aspirational amongst the community. People didn't want to. So I was ready to swim upstream like the salmon and just, and just be very true to because having lived abroad and seeing how integrating and not wanting to stand out. I mean, I was looking at Japanese communities and cultures and how Japanese fashion was emerging in Paris, and how they'd sort of set an imprint of their own cultural, their culture, their aesthetic, their through fashion.
Their core values.
Their core values were expressed through fashion, and they established their mark globally.
Right.
To make it something aspirational.
Right.
I said, why can't we as Indians, with such a legacy of craft and textile, why can't we do that? Why can't we be proud? Now, obviously, the years of colonization has had a significant impact on our minds of we're not good enough as we are, or our heritage.
Right.
That means the standards of beauty, everything, fashion, of course, emerged in the way today we know it.
Right.
Individual expressions of style and the language of style emerged in the Western world. It is quite alien to our cultural understandings because we as a community dressed based on where we came from.
Right.
Geographically, it was mostly saris, stitched clothing.
Right. More drapes.
Drapes.
Absolutely.
Draped in a 300 ways,
and more utility led as well. Like, for example, if you need to wash your clothes, you have to drape your sari in a way that it doesn't come in the way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Or like if you're a construction worker, you're carrying something, to take that dhoti around in between is because so
absolutely
that
the drapes were inspired by who was wearing it and what were they involved in activity and which culture and community they came from. The colors, the motifs, everything that went. But we were largely sharing and wearing things that spoke of the community and of our origins.
Right.
But this voice, this sort of self-expression, individuality, and styling, and finding your own personal style was not something that was
there. Urvashi, I know that you told me about you being 14 years old in Paris, moving around. I mean, your life just sounds like one of the most exciting ones back in the day. You know, today everything is exciting around us, but this is truly exciting because you don't have distractions, you don't have the internet to sway you. So I want to know that when you think back, that for your 14-year-old self, 15-year-old self, learning, doing all these things, 3 things that you can look back and be like, you know what, I got this right on point. What were those?
I think one was to not contradict my parents' decision on taking us with them to Algeria and France, and being thrown into the French school. It was a huge challenge not knowing the language at all.
Right.
To then having to graduate with an international baccalaureate in French. I mean, the sense of empowerment is huge.
Right.
So any challenge that you're put into, I think just embrace it. I mean, today, my perspective towards the world of fashion and everything else, because of just not only knowing the language, but also knowing the culture of another country and another people. And something that is, of course, the birthplace of fashion.
Right.
The second was explore your interests. For me, exploring theater
was one of those big key points.
Was an incredible, and again, the idea that I wanted to learn the craft of theater.
Yeah.
I wanted to commit myself to a company that was doing very meaningful work and introducing theater to India. It was just something, it was just a calling. So I feel every person must, go with the flow. Whatever your heart calls out to doing, no matter whether that is in alignment with whatever your work goals or your career goals are. For example, I know a lot of doctors that are also musicians at home, at heart.
Right.
And today, any companies that are hiring people, no matter which sector you're in, they are looking for people that have
With that, yes.
something else that they are really passionate about other than their practice.
Right. You're absolutely right. They do that because I feel like even in colleges, and you know this for a fact, that it's not just that, oh, he was a 90 percentile or 99th. It's also that, he knows how to play the piano.
Yes.
And he goes to Sunday church to do the soup kitchen. Like everything, all of those extracurriculars.
Anything outside of your goal, career path, or which you want to pursue, it just makes you a more there's a more holistic learning.
And
absolutely. People want people that have had diverse backgrounds and diverse experiences, because it just makes you so much more interesting. Your inputs, your thoughts, your ideas,
your point of view,
you're way more creative.
Right.
And design and creative thinking is at the core of every industry today. That is the future of every industry, because more than skill, which can be learned, creative thinking and just being design-led, curious person. I think that is...
So, that's a really good tip, because I feel that, students who may be watching this, or, fashion aspirational people who might be following your lead, I think curiosity is something that has always topped the charts for most creative people, that, make sure you follow your curiosity and sort of...
Yes.
So I think that's great. I want to know that, is there a creative habit that you have, that you've built on, that you've sort of taken and owned it, and now you still do it till today, that people should do?
My top one is to wake up early.
Okay.
Wake up early, give yourself 3 hours before your day even begins.
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the 5 to 9 before your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I'll have this conversation.
It is the 5 to 9.
Yeah.
It gives you ample time to explore, to read, to create, to walk, to whatever your something creative. It's the best time. Your brain and your mind is in theta state, and it's a great time to allow your creative energies and flow.
Right.
And a lot of downloads and a lot of great ideas will come to your mind.
But what about all those people who are just like, cannot sleep till 3 a.m., cannot get it done?
It takes 2 days of no sleep and being forced to wake up early morning that you get back into the cycle.
Yeah, you think it takes 2 days?
It takes 2 days. I've raised 3 children.
I think everybody who's watching this should try this and get back to us.
Absolutely.
Did this work or not?
Totally. My second go-to is, which is very specific to my craft, and it is because I don't follow a structured pattern to approach my design.
Okay.
The textile leads me to where I want it to go. It's a very organic, intuitive approach. It's about the emotion and the feeling I get when I touch and see textiles that I want to then either create, whether it is patterns and weaves, or it is the way the tie-dye will take its
How
expression,
it takes the shape and the form of, right.
how I want to place it, the engineering of, or let's say I'm working with a textile which in its original form is a sari. Now I will use the limitations to innovate in my design, because I will, let's say, if there's borders around the sari, in my recent most collection, what I've done is I've let the borders come into the silhouette, which meant that I had to make the silhouette really anti-fit.
Right.
Really boxy, where that borders could come onto the sides. Develop something very unique, which I wouldn't necessarily have done if I would have first designed the silhouette and then put a textile to that silhouette.
Yeah, I think I really like how you put that, because earlier we spoke about how you're glad that you didn't go to a design school first.
Yeah.
Right? And I think this is a great example of how design is intuitive
It is.
first, right? So I want to say that it's great that you started this on your own, because I wanted to talk about your creative process.
Yes.
And like you said, you look at a fabric and then it starts working,
Everything,
right? Like everything starts. So what is the fabric of choice? Like, I know that you work with sustainable fabrics a lot.
Everything that is hand woven, I'm drawn to everything that has this sort of really beautiful texture. And I work with many textiles.
Right.
Khadi being one of the
Your
most
top
predominant. And then now I have worked a lot with Kota Doria. I've introduced Mulberry silk to my archives of textiles, and hand woven Maheshwari and Chanderi.
Right.
There's Jamdani. I love light weight. So anything that doesn't weigh you down, especially in our climate, especially in our environment. Also, I don't like anything to feel restrictive, constrained. I love this element of freedom.
Right.
And movement.
And we see that in your
And
work.
flow.
Like, I feel that your website, which is so nicely designed, by the way, I really like that. Currently, it has that one girl with her entire top flowing. It's so cool. But I feel like I see that anti-fit, the freedom of movement in your clothes. It's very.
I feel that breathability. So I choose my textiles. Also, sometimes the seasons will define what textiles I will want to work with. But more and more I'm working with khadi and wool as well. And we are now working with Canopy that is supporting yarns that are being made out of waste.
Great.
So there's a lot
really
that we're working towards in the future, where we're not only supporting crafts and textile weaving traditions and innovating within that, but also ensuring where that yarn is being sourced from.
Coming from. That's great.
Yes.
So again, coming back to your creative process, right? When you need to start a new collection, let's say, right? Where do you start? Like the point that you start. Is it driven by, like, for example, is it driven by travels? Is it driven by the need out of your closet? Is it driven by just a textile that you love?
Yes.
What is it?
I think for me, most often, first it's led by a deadline.
Okay. Yes.
So usually, I'm like, oh my God, I have a deadline.
Right.
As a brand, we're trans-seasonal, so we don't really focus on a particular season. So the approach is led through some level of discovery.
Okay.
So I may be traveling somewhere and I interact with a textile or someone who's weaving a particular textile, or there's some tie-dye craft being done, and I explore this textile,
Right.
or I see it. I
Right.
interact with it at some point,
And then that kind of rings a bell somewhere.
and then it tells me, oh my gosh, I really loved that.
Yeah.
So I know that in the future I want to work with the Tanglia weave. I know in the future I want to work more with the Shibori and Bandhej.
Right.
I already know that these are like my future goals.
Right.
Sometimes it'll be the timelines that we have to develop a new craft or a new design language using that craft,
Yeah.
which will define whether I use it in this collection or not.
But this, it sounds very, I don't know, I'm trying to find the word for it, but I feel like so meticulous is the right word, right? Like in terms of, you not only first you draw that inspiration,
Yes.
right? Then you have to put in a process.
Of course, there is.
And then there's sampling, which
Yes.
is nuts, right? Because sampling is where it really comes
Yes.
alive.
Yes,
No matter
absolutely.
how much you can put it up there, when you wear it,
You know, it's sometimes weavers are coming from different states. They'll come by and they for my recent most collection, Prana.
Yeah.
I remember this weaver was traveling through Delhi, and he just called me and he says, you know, I'd like to come and just show you what I'm doing new.
Yeah.
And he came and he was showing me his metallic yarns that he's weaving. You know, I gave him direction and I said, okay, let's develop this.
Yeah.
Now at this point, I don't have the collection
Yeah.
in my head. I don't even probably have a need, but I know that okay, this is going to take time for the developments to happen. As long as he's willing to develop that, and I'm willing to, you know, I'm eager to explore
Yeah.
that new textile, that new
Weave, that new
weave,
fabric,
that
right.
you know, and working with a new
a new
cluster,
artisan, right,
and just adopt that into my existing
Yeah.
collections. And you know, I'm really excited by it. I remember this one particular time where I'm like, okay, you know, let's leave some gaps in the weave. It's almost like at the end of a sari, you know, you have that little bit
Yeah.
where it defines that that's the end of the sari.
Right.
The palla.
Selvage,
No, not the selvage. It is before.
Oh, I know what you mean. But
Yes.
then those things are like those
Basically,
threads
it's
are
not
let
fully
loose.
woven.
Yes, yes.
You leave the
Yeah,
warp
yeah,
at all. So you leave these gaps.
Got it.
I said, let's explore that across the weave.
Fabric, the whole.
Yes.
Right.
And I remember my merchandiser saying, Urvashi, can we do that? I was like, you could do anything you want, you know? Like, who's stopping us?
There's no stopping. Right. That's awesome.
Right? So you just want to see how that would translate in a running yardage.
Yeah.
And the exploration was incredible.
It sounds incredible, but I want to know like the commerce aspect of this.
Yes.
I mean, you know,
Very
like
important.
I'm just trying to figure that when you throw yourself into this R&D and just having so much fun with the fabrics and the weaves, how many drops a year do you goal yourself
So, you
for?
know,
Like,
actually, again, post-COVID, now this is again something, these are really important for everyone to understand, that you might have a format, you might have a process, but something is going to shake you up or is going to completely destroy that, and you're going to have to pivot to something new
Yeah.
entirely. And
Yeah.
if you're not open and adaptable enough to do that,
yeah.
you will perish. So the importance is to keep on reflecting on what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Right.
If it is sapping you of the energy, if it's taking away your creative juices, if it's taking away the joy from it,
Yeah.
I think there are new formats that can be approached every time. We just think that we can't.
Okay.
So we were initially having to show at both the autumn winter, and the spring summer fashion week edits.
Yeah.
Although we were not defining our collections as autumn winter or spring summer, but we felt the need to keep showing the collections. It was because buyers would be congregating at the fashion weeks, and
Right.
so all of your energy and all of your resources would go into building these collections,
Yeah.
dropping them during fashion week, and showing it to a set of buyers, and then launching them, and then navigating
Yeah.
in that way. I mean, there could be 4 collections, there could be 2 collections. But yeah, there was a lot of investment in building, in not only developing the collection, but also then, because in India, people don't really buy 6 months ahead. They weren't buying.
They don't have a buy plan like that.
No, they don't. They're like, okay, can you drop this collection in 2 weeks in our stores? And that too, it was consigned.
That's not changing, because I remember when we had that market we did at
So
Fashion Week.
it's
not changing
unfortunate. It's unfortunate. People don't have that kind of buying power, and they're not. A lot of them are not buying. So a lot of young designers will find this difficulty because they'll be asked to send merchandise on consignments.
Yeah.
So you're investing all your money into
very painful.
a collection.
Yeah.
And in fact, a very talented young designer, in fact, came up to me and said, Urvashi, how do you deal with this? Because, I created my new collection. I showed it on the runway. I had every brand, every store wanting it. But they obviously told them that, you share the collections on consignment. And then she built the collections, distributed it to all of the stores. In a month and a half, they sent everything back saying, okay, now we have to change the collections on the racks. And now what do you do with all of this?
The dead stock.
The stock.
Yeah.
The dead stock.
Yeah.
And so then designers go into sales and they're liquidating their stocks.
Yeah.
And it's a catch-22. It's a vicious cycle.
So have you cracked this? Because now you have your own store, so now you don't really need to do that.
I actually never really. I wanted to always create small batch productions. I also.
Which also ties into your sustainability, right?
Absolutely. It was also out of need.
Right.
Because I could not produce so much, and I did not have the means or the resources. So in fact, every person listening to this, every limitation you currently have is your biggest opportunity to innovate and to, with lesser resources, with a leaner team, you can have and explore larger opportunities. Today for brands, you can just create a capsule collection, shoot it well, upload it on your websites and if you don't have a website, on your Instagrams, on your whichever digital platform you want to use, and you have access to an audience that in the past people did not have access to. So with little or very little money, you're able to actually, just by investing in the right communication, digital communication and great campaign and imagery, invest it there, and just book orders online.
So you're basically saying, just forget the fashion shows. You don't need them.
Yeah, it's not only a much larger carbon footprint, but also today the buying patterns have changed. Your consumer may not necessarily transport themselves to come to India to buy during that season. It's a lot more dynamic. People have become more clear on what they want, and stores are more curated about their approach. A lot of brands that have been able to build an identity, or let's say, a core aesthetic, you will attract stores or target stores or partnerships with people that are imbibing that aesthetic. It will be a more natural and organic approach. Even if they may not be buying initially, you are not overproducing and not having the situation of liquidating.
And still keeping to your own ground.
Absolutely.
To your core values.
Absolutely. In fact, there have been many, I think you're going to be asking me, I think, about any mistakes you learned from.
Yes. 3 mistakes that you've learned.
Yes. I don't know about the 3, but I will tell you the one very big mistake.